Next up is Terrance Ferguson, Oregon tight end, 6'5" 3/8", 247 pounds, 9 1/4 inch hands. He's 22 years old. He just turned 22 in February. At the combine, he ran a 4.63 in the 40, a 1.55 10-yard split. He had 122-inch broad jump, 39-inch vertical. Last year at Oregon, in 12 games, he had 43 receptions, 591 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. He didn't have any rush attempts. He did all that on 65 targets, 4 drops for an 8.5% drop rate, so a little bit higher than everyone else. 387 yards after the catch, so another pretty decent chunk of his yards came after the catch.
Yeah, and part of that was because he caught a lot of stuff really close to the line of scrimmage. But
a lot's an understatement.
Terrance Ferguson, he was a guy that's kind of been on radars for a little bit. Got some love in Devy circles, C2C circles, and then unfortunately last year he dealt with that injury. 2 seasons ago, he dealt with that injury, kind of threw things off a little bit.
What was the injury?
He had a leg injury in. Was it 20? Let me look up the stats real quick.
Because he's played 14, 13, 14, 12, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I know he had an appendectomy this year. He missed 2 games.
I'll look after I'm done talking here.
Yep.
But he had a lower body injury at some point, either in 22 or 23.
I'll look while you're talking.
That kind of set him back a little bit, and he had some recovery time, and you kind of noticed it in his game a little bit that he had lost a little bit of his ability due to that injury. But he came back this year, had a nice season overall. I think this is another one of those players that doesn't have a crazy high ceiling. We'll get to a couple guys that have a little bit higher ceiling, I think, than a Terrance Ferguson. But he does do a lot of the necessary things to be a quality NFL tight end. He's got solid hands. He can do a little bit after the catch. He's got the requisite size that you kind of look for in a tight end. So there's a lot of like good things in his game. The problem is there's nothing that screams potential in his game. And that's the hard part, is there's going to be a lot, like we don't do nerd scores for tight ends. If we did, there'd be a lot of like 6s to 7s and a lot of like average to maybe slightly above average things for a college player. But how well does that translate to the next level? And I don't think it really does. So I think this screams like, hey, he's going to get on a roster, has a chance to maybe even become the team's top tight end at some point, but it'll be one of those players that for fantasy purposes is tight end 18, tight end 20.
Will Disley.
Yes.
But not Will Disley's a much better blocker.
So that's yes, and he's not going to offer much in the run blocking game.
No, he does not.
He's mostly just a pass catcher. And even that, like his routes are fine, but they're nothing special. He's a little stiff.
Stiff, yep.
So good player, but not anybody I'm prioritizing in fantasy football.
Agreed. Despite the fact that I think his 4.63 was the best at the combine.
Which we had a lot of tight ends that didn't run. At the combine, especially like the bigger names. But yeah, he had one of, if not the best time.
Yeah. So I think he's upright type of route runner, right? So he didn't sink his hips too much. But I thought obviously the speed helped and he got some separation out of that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought. I would call him like pesky after the catch. I don't know that he's making anyone miss, but he's going to outrun some guys. He's going to kind of grind out some tough yards, but nothing crazy. But it still accounted for 387 yards out of his 591, which is like a 65% of his yards came after the catch. So there's at least
pretty easy when you catch that to 1.
There were a lot of screen passes and all that kind of, like right at the line of scrimmage. But yeah, obviously the blocking is going to be a bit of an issue for this guy. So I don't know. Like you said, Garrett, I agree with you. I'm not going to prioritize this guy. If he falls to me at the right part of the draft, 4th, 5th round of drafts, like, that's when I start feeling pretty good about this guy.
Yeah, it's when I had to scoop up tight ends too. Like at the back end, I just grabbed those guys, stashed them, get them off my roster. And
I think he's just going to be another guy. You know what I mean? You just hope for the best and hope for a big share 1 year.
Now, could Terrance Ferguson turn like...
It was during the spring game that he injured himself.
I was going to say, I couldn't find anything other than the appendectomy.
Yeah, it was during the spring game that he injured himself, and he didn't miss much time during the season, but he started real slow.
Was it a knee injury or something?
Yeah, it was a lower body injury. Okay.
And I'm going to echo a lot of pretty much everything you guys said with Terrance Ferguson. I will say that, I thought he had really good body control. I thought he high pointed the ball really well. Mm-hmm. I think his best attribute is his hands, bar none. He's one of those players I could see if Terrance Ferguson ended up being a good tight end, a fantasy tight end, like a solid guy you start every single week, like, oh, Terrance Ferguson, I got Terrance Ferguson. You draft him as your tight end one because he's tight end. It wouldn't surprise me. I'll say that. But like, I do kind of doubt that as well. Like 90% of this guy's catches were at the line or within 6 yards of the line. Like 90% might be an understatement, to be honest.
He was. I read off the ADOT. It's 7.8 is his average depth of target, and that's. There must have been some long ones that I was missing to get that up that high.
And I felt the same way. This is one of the players, I watched 3 games of his, and tight end's the only position I actually do this for is after I watch all their tape, and I do my notes just on tape, I actually go watch their highlight tape as well. It's the only position I do it to because watching tape, you watch 3 or 4 games. A lot of these guys, like him, they're catching 3 balls for 50 yards. Yep. Like that's not enough for me to really
blocking. Oh, look, he's going to leak out on this one.
Yeah.
All right. You know what I mean? It's not a lot there.
So like, I don't have time to watch every game they played. So like, I want to watch their highlight tape because the highlight tapes, for the most part, are going to show you every catch they made, and most part, good ones. What I saw with Terrance Ferguson was something I did not see on the tape was he did a really nice job in the end zone. Diving catches, extending for the ball. Saw probably about 8 touchdown catches there that he looked really nice there, which was pretty impressive. But besides that, like his routes aren't much. He's not much after the catch. He doesn't have any burst or any long speed there. You mentioned the injuries. I really did like his hands though, and a couple catches he made away from his body. The most impressed I really came in with, because I had him actually a lot lower, but when I watched his highlight tape, he did make a couple really nice plays in the end zone, like dive and catch, like really nice. And I came away, I was like, well, that's a skill set I can get behind.
And tight end is one of those ultimate projection type of positions from college to the NFL, because I feel like the usage team to team is so different. Oh, yeah. And even college to the pros is so different. Yeah.
It's such scheme for everything. Everybody's going to run their, some tight end offenses don't even utilize a tight end at all. So I think him not being able to block well at all is going to hurt his draft stock as well, because then you're looking for literally be, the lineup out, and even that he doesn't really excel at that though. So I love his hands. I love his body control. I love the way he's out to go and get the football. But that's about it. I'm with you. Like everything you said about Harold Fannin, like same thing. You're like, oh, I'll gamble on the 4th and 5th. Yeah, that's where I'll gamble on a guy like Terrance Ferguson. But
sure,
nice player compared to some, but like not the upside that I'm really hoping for.
Yep.